in an age of golden desserts and echoing magic. When Ali Baba's legend was still whispered in the bustling markets of Baghdad, lived the great Sultan Zaheeruddin, a man of justice and iron discipline. It was he who purged the city of the last remnants of the infamous 40 thieves. But even the greatest of kings cannot escape the cruel hand of fate. One dawn, as the sun's first rays touched the palace minarets, a cry of terror ripped through the morning calm. The Sultan is dead. Panic spread like wildfire. The king lay lifeless in his royal chamber, his face a mask of sheer terror, his hands clutching the sheets as if he had wrestled with an unseen phantom. There was no wound, no sign of a struggle. The empire was shaken. Who could have done this? The court's only hope was the empire's finest investigator, Hasan al-Khafi. Hasan arrived, his presence a beacon of calm in the storm of chaos. Tall, sharp-eyed, he entered the royal chamber, his gaze sweeping across the scene like a hawk surveying its domain. The door had been locked from the inside, the windows barred and secure. An oil lamp had burned out, its ashes scattered near the bed, but Hasan's eyes settled on two small, yet crucial details. By the pillow, a single, thin black silk thread, and on the table an unfinished goblet of sherbet, a strange froth still clinging to its surface. Hasan lifted the cup, brought it to his nose, and sniffed. His voice was a low murmur, but it cut through the silence. This is no ordinary drink, it has been poisoned. The question hung heavy in the air. Who could poison the Sultan, who stood to gain from his death? Suspicion immediately fell upon the most powerful figures in the court. First, Vizier Juhair, ambitious, a man whose hunger for the throne was an open secret. Then there was Prince Race, the Sultan's own son. He was young, bold, but his frequent clashes with his father were known throughout the palace. Also under suspicion was the royal physician, recently dismissed and publicly humiliated by the king for fraud. And finally, the palace cook, the very man who prepared the Sultan's nightly sherbet. Hasan began his interrogation with the cook, a man trembling so violently he could barely stand. "I swear by Allah," the cook stammered, his eyes wide with fear. "I only prepared the sherbet as I do every night. I would never dare touch poison." But he hesitated, his voice dropping to a whisper. Someone took the goblet from me for just a moment, and then returned it." Hasan's eyes narrowed, his focus intensifying. "Who was it?" he pressed. The cook, looking over his shoulder as if fearing for his life, finally confessed. It was one of the vizier's men. Instantly, all eyes in the court turned towards Vizier Juhair. The net seemed to be closing, but Hasan's instincts nagged at him. It felt too simple, too clean. He kept returning to that small, black silk thread. It wasn't from any noble garment. He recognized the weave. It was the kind of rough, dark silk worn by desert bandits. The very same type the 40 thieves were famous for. A chilling thought entered Hasan's mind. Sultan Zaheeruddin had made many enemies when he hunted down the surviving members of that notorious gang. Many had escaped, vanishing into the desert, their hearts burning with a thirst for revenge. Could this be their doing? Was this a long-awaited act of vengeance, finally delivered? Hasan returned to the Sultan's body for one last inspection. He needed to be certain. He leaned in close, examining the king's face under the lamplight. There, on the Sultan's lips, was a faint, almost invisible dark stain. A jolt went through Hasan. He knew what it was. Suleimani poison, he muttered to himself. A rare and terrifying venom, known only to the desert tribes. It didn't kill quickly. Instead it worked slowly, paralyzing the body while filling the mind with unbearable nightmarish fear. And its trade was controlled by one group, the last of the 40 thieves. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place. The vizier wanted the throne. The thieves wanted revenge. Hasan was now certain. Vizier Juhair had forged a deadly alliance with the Sultan's oldest enemies. The time had come to reveal the truth. In the grand court, before the prince and all the nobles, Hasan stood tall. He laid out the evidence, piece by damning piece. The poisoned sherbet, which the vizier's man had tainted. The black silk thread, a clear link to the desert thieves. The terrified cook's testimony, and finally, his own discovery of the Suleimani poison, a signature of the 40 thieves. Hasan's voice rang with conviction. This was no accident, nor the hand of fate. The vizier struck a bargain with the surviving thieves. They provided the poison, his men delivered it, and together they plotted to seize the throne of Baghdad. At that moment, the vizier's composure shattered. Guards moved in and seized him. "Yes, I did it," Juhair screamed, his face contorted with rage and desperation. "The Sultan silenced me for too long. I was meant to be king." At the same time, acting on Hasan's orders, palace guards discovered the thieves attempting to escape through a hidden tunnel beneath the palace. The conspiracy was crushed. Justice was swift and severe, a message to all who would dare threaten the heart of the empire. In the aftermath, Prince Race ascended the throne. But he did not celebrate. He stood before the court, humbled, and made a solemn vow. "I shall rule as my father did, with justice, not with greed. Treachery will find no place in my kingdom." And as for Hasan al-Khafi, his name became a legend whispered in the streets and markets of Baghdad. They said, as the hawk sees every prey from the sky, so does Hasan uncover every secret hidden on earth. And so ended the dark mystery written in the sands of time, a timeless tale of power, betrayal, and the justice that inevitably follows. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from history and legend. We'll see you in the next video.